In today's case study video, we're going to learn useful tips when purchasing a fixer-upper. We'll define what a fixer-upper is, and we'll look at all of the ways in which to do that to the best of your ability. In studio joining me, my favorite, one of my absolute favorite people. He doesn't like titles, so I'm just going to call him by his name. We have Taurai Jack in studio, here to talk about fixer-uppers. Taurai Jack is a property entrepreneur and author. He aims to inspire and motivate others whenever he's out speaking at events, doing live videos on Facebook, and at property and wealth seminars. He previously worked in the banking sector across Africa. Taurai is a property mogul who built his portfolio of residential properties from scratch. In 2018, Taurai was one of the nominees for Investor of the Year. And in 2019, he was awarded the well-sought-after prize of Investor of the Year 2019 in the Big Leagues category. How are you? Thank you for coming back.
Thank you, Sips. I'm very well, thanks.
I know you don't like labels. You don't like to label yourself. But what is your current designation right now? I'm only asking because you've always got like a new designation, a new company going. You are such a rich guy. You've got your finger in so many pies. Tell me what finger your pie is in right now.
Not really, Sips.
An old pie.
It's just one pie.
One pie.
Which is trying to make money so that I can sustain my family. That's it. And I am the founder of the TJ Tribe. And basically, we're a community of people that build businesses and build strong families.
Now, before we chat to Taurai, our producers have found some very interesting content on TikTok about people's fixer-upper experiences.
With such little inventory out there right now, a move-in ready home can be hard to find, especially if you're on a budget. What about a fixer-upper in a hot area? 3 tips to consider with fixer-uppers. 1, what will it cost to purchase? 2, how much is it going to cost to improve? 3, what's the future return on it? Move-in ready or a fixer-upper? I'm ready to hear what you're looking for. For more tips and advice, follow me on Instagram or TikTok at Carla Corsi GTA.
Yeah, look, I think she gave some really great advice. Did I have trouble focusing on what she was actually saying? Perhaps, but I'm not trying to get cancelled, so I'm not going to talk too much about that.
Sibs, I'm the man here. So
let's not play into gender roles. That's not a thing anymore. But I mean, let's talk about fixer-uppers, right?
Yeah.
Is that a thing here? I watch a lot of HGTV, and that's very like sort of American based.
Yeah.
As you can tell, that's a very big thing for them over there, sort of buying houses and flipping them and then selling them at, a profit. Is that a thing?
It is. It is a thing locally. Actually, property is international, so the foundations and fundamentals of property, it's everywhere. And it's just about your personal taste, what you want to do. I personally don't like flips because, I don't.
Why?
And the reason is that we all have 8 hours to 12 hours in a day. And if I'm going to do a flip, I am going to consume my time today. So I'm going to do a flip or get money, and that's it, right? So yes, I'm going to get this money, but I can use the same time, whereas I can buy the same property that I can keep for the longest time, and I don't need to work that much. So now this property is giving me more money for a long time.
It's more of a long-term investment than a short-term investment. I hear you.
But if a flip falls on my lap, it doesn't mean that I'll let it go. What she spoke about is very, very key. Fundamentals of if you're going to be doing anything, are you going to make money out of it? So if you don't have a budget and you're going into something, you're probably going to overspend. But how are you going to gauge to see that you have made money if you don't even have a foundation of a budget? How much you're going to spend, why, and how much you're going to get out of it? I think that's a simple mathematics that she was trying to put across.
Maths that some people can't always sort of see the bigger picture of, I would say.
100%. And the more that you're going to put onto your project without knowing, you are going to overcapitalize. And we know a lot of that in South Africa, where all of the properties in one street, they're kind of like costing 500,000 and you're actually putting in $1 million on it and you still want to sell it. You have overcapitalized. You can't sell it now for more than $1 million, right? So, yeah.
After the break, I'll be chatting more to Taurai and unpacking what his thoughts are about diving into a fixer-upper in 2023. I want to begin by asking you this.
Yeah.
fixer-uppers is what we're discussing today. Finding a property, maybe in a hot area, or now, I don't know, you're lucky and one falls into your lap. Maybe you've inherited it. I don't know
Yeah.
how people come across fixer-uppers, but then they decide, you know what, I can turn this into something magical and make
Right.
a massive profit. Have you done this before?
I've done a few amazing ones. Some I've made some money, and some not so amazing, where I've lost money.
So why did you go into it? Like, what for you, what is the motivation, or what should promote someone thinking, let me do this, let me jump into this, let me do this fixer-upper?
My primary one, long time ago, was just money. Simple. I wanted to make money, and I thought property is the it. And then I realized that in property, there's actually a whole lot of strategies, and flipping was not my thing because I realized that I am working and I don't want to consistently working. I want my business and my money to be working for me. So, but flipping, I'll do it if they come through. But it's not my best strategy. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So in the flipping business,
Yeah.
what would you say your favorite part of it is? Obviously,
mean-
we know, wait, before you answer,
Yeah.
I know that it's the making of the money. I know you're going to say that your
No, I
favorite
wasn't going
part
to say that,
is
actually.
the ka-ching that you hear at the end of every flip. But what is your other favorite part of the process and the flipping strategy in general?
Yeah. I wasn't going to say that.
You were.
though.
I know you, TJ. That's exactly what you were going to say.
Look, making money is great, yes, but one needs to kind of like, for me, I like learning. Learning is one of the things that I really enjoy. I've been a student and I'll continue being a student for the rest of my life. So the more you're doing these flips, they start educating you what you can do, cannot do, what is allowed and what is not allowed. And that education for me, it just builds up. And the more you're learning, the more you're going to be earning more. But obviously, the transformation of these properties for me is quite cool. So where's the best places where you can see a great transformation? Old neighborhoods. So in South Africa, we have plenty of old neighborhoods.
With really big properties, actually. Really big
Yes.
spaces, really big yards
Yes.
that, they've got so much room and so much potential. But at the same time, we spoke earlier about overcapitalizing, where you
Right.
now take so much money, you put it into this thing because you want to see it turn into the mansion of your dreams, but you actually haven't made any money at all.
Correct. And that comes all from the understanding what you're trying to do. So understanding comes from being aware of what you're trying to do, and also having the ability of doing it, and also being rightfully educated around it. So if you're going to be putting your money into something, so I'm going to call it investing your money. Now you're investing your money into something and you have no cooking clue what it's all about. Then you've got all of these people that are just going to come and tell you, yeah, you need to do this, or you need to do this. Yes, it's your vision and it's your money. But if you're not acquainted in terms of what is it that you're trying to do, and you understand that the foundation is there, then you're likely going to lose money. So for me, the best one is that before anyone just goes out and watches a whole lot of videos and then they're like, I can go and do it. Yes, anyone can do it. I'll give you an example, Siebes. Back in the days when I was employed, I used to pass through several houses, and when I was driving through those houses, I'd complain to my wife and say, these guys, they need to redo their houses. And this is going to be a safe haven for thieves and so on. That's what I would complain. Then I went for education. Three days in a weekend, I sat in there, and then bingo, it hit me. I'm like, those 3 properties that I always see when I'm passing through, it's an opportunity of a fix up, right? But because my mind was not trained, my eye was not trained, I never looked at it that way, right? I looked at it as the everyday stuff. But now that I was trained, my eyes and my mind started working around that. And that became my first flip, actually. Stuff that I was complaining for like 3 years.
I love that because obviously, we always hear and people always say like the best sort of business to start is one that's a solution to an existing problem.
Right.
And that's how you add value to people's lives, but also add value, as yourself, as a business person trying to uplift yourself and the world around you.
Correct.
But I think that's such an interesting concept to go, you know what, holistically speaking, things don't have to be these big, massive undertakings or projects. You can look at something as simple as security.
Right.
And that could be the offering. You could look at something like the painting or using biodegradable materials to do using a grey water system to water the garden. Simple sort of solutions that deal with one particular thing or a few things that will completely transform and upgrade a property that don't necessarily involve tearing down brick and mortar and having a project last for ages, because
it's true. So I do student accommodation a bit, and within the student accommodation, one of the key things that is very, very important is security for the kids. So I go to some of these areas, and people that are owning student accommodation, they are selling them. And then I ask why they're selling them. And they say, well, we haven't had students for the last 2 years, so now we're selling. And then I look at the property and I see
why
there's no security around here. It's not clean. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll buy it. So I buy it. And what do I improve? Exactly to your point. Put in a little bit of biometrics on the gate. And now all of a sudden, you as the parent and the child who's coming in, you feel safe. How much is it going to cost you to put a biometrics?
I don't know. Do you tell me?
But the point is that there are so many things that you can do. I think fixer up, yes, you're very right. It's not always bricks and mortar. There could be other things around it. But I think a lot of it in South Africa, it may involve some form of a partial bricks and mortar. I bought a building at one point. It used to be a one bed. So it was.
I love that you keep saying. He keeps saying, "I bought this other house, then I bought this building, then I own the student accommodation." It's like, we get it. You're rich.
No, not necessarily so, but the point
TJ,
that I'm trying
are you
to
rich?
make, I'm not. Personally, I'm not. I just control stuff that is assets that are wealthier, but I'm not. So coming back to the point of renovating. In South Africa, we have in the old suburbs, you got these bigger units. I'll give you an example: Rosebank, Johannesburg, or Boksburg. The buildings, the one beds are probably around about 120, 130 squares. But today, look at Midrand, look at all these other
Shoebox
developments that are coming
apartments.
up, 60 squares. So your renovation or fixer up could be easily to create more living space. So you bought it as a one bed, you turn it into a two bed, and you sell it. Because the infrastructure is there. One of the TikToks that we watched, the lady says, the bonds are they strong? Let's do translation in South Africa. It's just the structure. So is the structure strong enough to carry a two bed? If it is it allowed?
Yes.
So now you need to look at the architect, the town planners, your construction guys. Yes, it is. How much is it going to be? How much is a two bed selling in this area? If I add all of this up, is it good to fix up? Bingo.
I'm glad you brought up the architects and the permits and all sorts of things, because those aren't things you need. You can't just buy a property, decide I'm going to extend or do this here, without a good team of people surrounding you who know exactly what they're doing and who are accredited. So how would you say, just before I let you go, I want to know the best way to go about making sure you find the most accredited, the most professional, the most sort of trustworthy. I don't know, like you can't just look into someone's eyes and see, oh, I think TJ is trustworthy, so we're going to do this project together. But I need to know that I can be able to trust you with my investment and with my money. What would you advise in that regard? I know there are certificates, there are boards, there are all sorts of things. Yeah.
I think the very simple one is that once you decide to go this professionally, are you working with professional people? So The first one is that you're going to buy a property from an estate agent. Is that estate agent registered within the property practitioners, right? So that's number one. Now, if they're a reputable estate agents, then that's cool. What is a reputable? They have a brand, they have an office and things like that. And then thereafter, I want to make the estate agent my friend. Now, he's a business partner. So I've bought a property from him, cool, but I'm buying it so that I can fix it up and then I can sell it. So good, I'm going to give him the business to sell it as well. If that is the case, this person has been in the property business longer than I've been. Do you know plumbers? Do you know so-and-so? Now it's referrals. Because remember, he's got something to gain when they're selling it.
If he's a scam artist and he's referring you to other scam artists, how do I make sure that that's not happening? That's my question.
Awesome. So this is step number one, right?
Yes.
Then step number two is there's a whole lot of regulations out there, right? So for instance, for builders, there is the National Housing Builders Council. So everyone needs to be registered there. And if you're registered there, there's insurance that goes with it and so on. If you're an electrician, there's also a board for electricians. So for every profession that you engage, there's a form of a board that they are registered at.
A regulatory body that you must check with.
Yes, and you can ask them for that certification. If you don't know them from any bar or soap, you can ask for references. But be careful on the references because I can choose you as my bride and my wife and so on. So ask for hard references. Which project did you do? Let me go and see it, right? And for real, you can validate these things. Then the last one is that obviously if they are in the business of doing this, they probably have a live project. So go and see it and then say to them, oh, okay, fine. I want you to do exactly what you're doing here at my project.
Or if they're building a skew, then you can say, you know what? I think we should go our separate ways because you're building on a water table and you're not supposed to do that.
But the challenge is that when you're new, you don't
know all of that stuff.
So I generally want to recommend as a startup, if you're starting up and this is totally new to you, there is two professions that I want for people that I kind of like advocate for. The first one is the home inspection. Okay. Now, there are not so many home inspections out there, but they're beginning to be more of them. Basically, what these guys are, he's a third party. He's going to point out what is wrong. But now it's your obligation to go and find the fixer, the builder, the plumber, and so on. So they're just coming in to tell you this and this and this is wrong, and it can be fixed this way. So they give you a plan. And obviously, you pay for that fee. The second profession that I like to work with if you are starting up is a builder who is a little bit seasoned. So you go to your project, you see it, and then you bring this person and say, give me a quotation of fixing this. But I normally don't want to work with one builder. I prefer to work with three. And three builders, they are going to give you very high, very expensive, and some will give you a very low. Yeah. And some will give you kind of like an average. Reasonable. Right. I want to work with a reasonable one, and then I'll take this as my budget. Okay. Right. So that's, if I was starting all over again, that's the route that I'll take.
When we get back, we'll learn more about buying a fixer-upper. But first, here's some DIY tips on how to handle your fixer-upper.
Try to decide if you want to do a fixer-upper. These few steps are going to let you know what you can afford, how much you should offer on the house, and even if this is the right thing for you. The first thing you want to decide is what you can do yourself, a DIY. I know you watch HGTV, but make sure you are even capable of doing those kind of things. Next, you want to see how much it will cost for the reno. Bring a contractor with you, let them tally up and decide how much all this is going to cost. And then on top of that, I want you to add 10 to 20% for unforeseen circumstances, okay? Next, you want to check the permit costs. After that, you want to check the cost of the financing. If you're going to do the home equity or a home improvements loan, go ahead and get pre-approved for that. And then you want to ask your realtor to go ahead and do a comparison of the neighborhood, let you know how much the houses are that are upgraded and what you should possibly offer on that house. And follow for more real estate.
So I like a number of things that she touched on there. But I think one of the most important ones for me is that obviously with the world of content creation, we see a lot of, TikTokers or videos or YouTubes or what I sound like an old lady, YouTubes. But we see a lot of DIY stuff that we think, oh, I can absolutely do that without thinking, can I really? Like if I try and put up my own wallpaper in my house, I know my arms are going to get sore.
Yeah.
And then eventually I'll just have to give up and then hire someone to come and do that for me.
Right. So there's a number of things here. So I totally love a lot of things that she's spoken about. I think for me, the best one was the contingent support, which we'll come back to. But I want to speak about your question now, where you're saying, do I want to do this on my own? So if you're like a guy like me, you've never lifted a hammer before in your life.
You've never lifted a hammer?
Yeah, I kind of like did somewhere along the way. But,
So you're a liar.
But you've never done it professionally, and you have never done like simple carpentry stuff. And now you want to go into do tiles. Like, yes, YouTube is going to teach you how to do it, but chances are you're going to do everything wrong. And maybe you're going to bring in a professional who's going to cost you double or triple the money because now
to undo the nonsense that you did to begin with.
That's it, right? So if you're going to go the DIY route, I applaud people that do that. But I would say maybe start off with hiring a carpenter. Shadow the carpenter for a little bit. Oh, okay, this is what they do. This is what you do. And maybe try to, get acquainted with certain tools. There's very low cost tools, and then there's heavy tools. Then there's very expensive tools. Because I bought a drill at one point, and I have only used it 3 times.
I took my drill out of my house yesterday because I needed it, and I've only used it once. And I have no idea where my drill bits are. But I know that I've used it before, so I'm sure I can drill again.
So you spend maybe about 2,000 Rand.
On my drill.
On a drill. But you've only used it once or twice. So that your return of investment is kind of like nothing there, right? So if we want to speak to the person who's doing DIY, is this your passion? Are you going to continuously doing this? And if that's so, then go and acquire the tools box, make your garage, flip it if you want to fit all the tools that you want, and then become that person. But if not, it's far much better for me to just get someone else who's qualified. They're going to do it professionally, in and out, it's done. And my insurance can cover that because they have workmanships and all of those things that I can claim around it.
Yeah.
So it's not for everybody, but some people do it.
Hey guys, let's talk about purchasing a fixer-upper. A lot of young people, first-time homebuyers, and starter families are looking into getting fixer-uppers as it can save you a lot of money and be a great idea. You can see great appreciation when you put an investment into a home, as well as there's generally less competition with these properties as most buyers want a turnkey property when they purchase. Here's some things that you need to be aware of if you're going to be doing this. My number one piece of advice would be to get a home inspection. Although I always recommend getting a home inspection, it's especially important with fixer-uppers as you want to make sure that you're focusing on cosmetics with your renovation and that there aren't more serious problems with the home. Those can just become really costly, as well as you don't really know what you're going to find when you open up the wall. Some people might be cut out for this situation, but in general, I would recommend focusing on something that's just a little bit outdated but has good bones. Secondly, you should get a vetted contractor before you purchase the property. Whether you get a recommendation from your realtor or someone that you know, make sure you're working with someone who has great reputation and they can actually help you before purchasing the home to come in and give you quotes so you can have an idea and a budget in mind for what you want to do. And lastly, just prepare for delay and extra costs. Renovations always take longer and cost more than you expect. So don't hit your budget right to the top. Kind of work within your means and leave some wiggle room for when things go wrong. Always buy extra material just in case, and little things like that will really save you in the long run. Don't have a super strict timeline with it, as it's just not going to be realistic and will just end up stressing you out. Hope that helps.
So a number of things that, I love about this particular case study is something that, we were both interested in earlier in the TikTok we had watched before, just around planning for like contingency measures, putting away extra money. She's now spoken about, don't put a strict timeline on it. It's going to stress you out. Here's one thing I know in life. No one lies like a builder or a hairdresser. Those people will say this thing is going to take you 2 hours when in fact it's going to take you 25 trillion million. You'll be done in the next millennium. Because that's just how builders and hairdressers are. No shade. Love my hairdresser. I love my new hair. Thank you so much. But yeah, it's unrealistic.
Look, I think that there's a number of things that comes out of working with people. So right now we're shooting this in the middle of summer and it's raining. So nobody actually knew that we're going to have load shedding and heavy rains. So your contractors are supposed to be on site, let's say around about 6 o'clock. Now there's a heavy rain. They can only be there at 10, 9. So it's lost time already. So
even if they are there, how much can they actually do?
That's it, right? So now you want to paint outside, but it's been raining for 1 week. You didn't think about that, right? Or maybe you didn't foresee that. So there's lots of things that you are not going to be able to see that far.
TJ, I think that's actually where we're going to leave it today. Thank you so much for joining me on the Private Property Podcast. I love having you here, and I cannot wait until you come back and tell me more about all of the wonderful assets that you own and all of the many millions of monies that you own as well. Thank you for being here.
I also want to make the millions and millions. Thank you,
I see it in your future for 2023. Don't worry. It's coming. It's happening. God bless you.
Amazing. Thanks.